the home of hope. And today being 14th of July 2023, we're here with 9 p.m. news. My name is Evelyn Kanana, and to reach us, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as GCTV. What started as a routine assignment for homicide detectives to exhume bodies of children suspected to have been starved to death rapidly turned into a protracted and shocking discovery of literally a plantation of mass graves, which each mode of excavated fresh earth, a disturbing unveiling of one of the country's worst tragedies was unfolding. The exhumation ordered by Malindi Court led to the discovery of more than 240 bodies belonging to worshippers, all of whom subscribe to Good News International cults, whose leader Paul Mthenke Mackenzie led them to Shakahola Forest where he starved them to death. But why did so many, so painfully yet so quietly choose to die in a distant wilderness? TSC TV's Evelyn Kanana gained exclusive access to the district in Shakahola Ranch, where Pastor Paul Mackenzie, president of Kenya's worst ever peacetime massacre. Here now is Evelyn Kanana's report inside Shakahola death camps.
Shakahola is a remote scrambland some 100 kilometers west of Kenyan coast town Malindi. This is the scene of the biggest single investigation carried out by Kenya's homicide and forensic detectives in recent time. It all revolves around this man, Paul Mthenke Mackenzie, who is currently in police custody. He is the leader of the Doomsday cult named Good News International, and he is suspected to have radicalized his followers to starve themselves and their families to death, ostensibly to help them meet their maker. This after making his followers sell all their property and join him in Shakahola. He believed that the world is coming to an end. Homicide detectives and the support team have been making endless trips in and out of what seems to be a bottomless mass graves chimney across the vast, the 800-acre Shakahola Caretaker Ranch. On this day, witnesses exhumation of 29 bodies. But as the bodies continue to sprout out of the mouths of the rent swell, questions about just how do we get here. We traversed the vast bushland in search of crews, and crews we encountered. From deplorable conditions, his followers learned there was no doubting preacher Paul Mackenzie's power and control. These are deplorable living conditions that the survivors of the forced starvation were found. The camps of death where bodies of starved faithful were collected by Mackenzie staff for mass burial not far from these structures. A look around this structure speaks to the possibility of there being more than 6 people who lie here waiting for their death after consuming Mackenzie's doomsday doctrine. The believers persuaded by Mackenzie that the end of the world is near, and through starving to death they will meet their creator. Pieces of literature written this bloody death camp and provided clues to the teaching of the Doomsday cult. This book has particular sections underlined. First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 29, raising part of that time many sought righteousness and justice went out into the wilderness to settle there. They and their children, their wives and their animals, because misfortunes pressed so hard on them. The very teaching that most of Mackenzie's sermons gave it goes on to read. The pastor said to them, "Enough of this. Come out and obey the king's command and you will live." But they replied, "We will not come out. Not will we obey the king's command to profane the Sabbath." Then the enemy attacked them at once. But they did not retaliate. They neither threw stones nor blocked up their secret refuge. They say, let us all die in innocence. Heaven and earth are our witnesses that you destroy us unjustly. Investigators believe that the worshippers were all works of life, some of whom flew here. If this budget term is anything to go by, they were victims of radical teachings. Not far from here, another copy of a Bible teaching underlined are mostly from Revelation chapter handwritten notes on these living teachings that Mackenzie gave. For instance, this book was handwritten in Swahili, adui wateule ni serikali za dunia. Translating to the enemy of the chosen ones are the ones government. This copy that names at the front page suggesting that the Bible may have belonged to a Mr. or Mrs. Nelson Kimbichi Mwambela. He or they probably lived in this structure house that looked better rest of the dying camp on this bush, suggesting that he could have been a senior ranking member of Good News International cults. Close curtained all over belonging to different age sets, meaning that a whole family lived here. On this day, detectives carrying out exhumation retrieved 7 bodies on mass graves next to this house, 5 of them belonging to children. Another copy found belonged to Mr. Anthony Emmanuel Busele Kunmi from Busende in Busia County. Whether or not he is alive remains unknown. Inside this copy of the Bible, handwritten notes spoke to what Mackenzie thought that his flock should not be attacked, to any worldly position, that women should not keep long hair, nails, or makeup on. Every structure in this death camp, and on one edge such remains of charred documentation, detectives believe they were instructed to burn all state-issued documents for birth certificate, national identity cards, academic papers, passports, and even banking slips. They then saw in readiness to starving to death to meet their maker. Sources private to an investigation revealing that in this bush they were first supervisors, men employed by Mackenzie to ensure no one changes their mind or leaves the forest. These supervisors are believed to work aloud in shoving and digging, or to bury anyone they found dead. At times, according to detectives, they were suspected to have murdered the failed perhaps to save their own time. This explaining why the autopsies conducted to the body revealed that some died by blunt force trauma to the end, and others, especially children, were either suffocated or struggled death. As the followers struggled and starved to death, this was Mackenzie's residence whenever he came visiting the bush. A look at his kitchen area speaks to activity, meaning that meals were prepared for Mackenzie as his followers starved to death. Outside his home was a pool of water, perhaps to keep the cult leader hydrated. Mackenzie radical teaching and Mana Miller and other infamous cult killing elsewhere around 145 years ago, November 18, 1978, 1918, Americas died in a remote jungle in Guyana, South America, 914 of whom were followers of Doom Day of Cults, leader James Walton, better known as James Jones, who led the People Temple cult in what he called revolution suicide. He moved with his cult members to a remote forest, creating Guyana, instructed his followers to drink poison in their secluded jungle settlement, and they died in hundreds. In Kenya, Mackenzie, who was captured alive and is currently in police custody and under tight SU surveillance whenever on transit faces, among other charges, mass murder, genocide, and radicalization. Evelyn Kanana, reporting from Shakahola Forest, TSC TV.
Thank you, Evelyn Kanana, for your reports. Thank you for staying tuned in to GSC TV. Bye.